Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be something different because today I'm going to be talking about something that is like one of my interests that I haven't touched on this channel, and that is true crime. So I am a true crime junkie. I love just hearing about like stories of true crime, not because I enjoy like what happened, obviously. That's all bad. But I enjoy hearing and learning motives, and from someone who has a psychology degree, I like to try to figure out what's going on in these people's minds. I know that's probably weird to some people, but I truly do believe that if I wasn't like super squeamish and if I could like handle blood and stuff, I would be like a forensic scientist, or I would, be working to like talk to people that have like committed murders and stuff and trying to get inside their mind and basically trying to understand why they do things. That's why I like it, not because of anything else. I just honestly find that really fascinating, and it's interesting, and I feel like people are slowly starting to talk about how they actually find it interesting as well. There's more and more documentaries coming out about stuff like this. If you guys remember the Ted Bundy tapes, which came out earlier this year, people were like talking about that all the time. So I feel like people are kind of getting to a point where it's not as taboo to like talking about this stuff. Like I said, for me, it's just more of a psychology perspective. I've learned about a lot of stuff, and I kind of like to use like that knowledge as I'm hearing about it. I don't know. I find it really fascinating. That being said, anytime a new documentary on Netflix comes out, I always want to watch it. This one, however, I didn't know about because I hadn't been on Netflix in a hot minute. But this documentary that just came out on Netflix is called Don't F with Cats. You can figure out what F stands for. It just came out, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I had no idea what this was at first. The first time I saw it, somebody was just talking about it on my timeline on Twitter, and all they said was like, don't F with cats, blah, 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 something. So I thought, and this is my dumbass self, I really thought they were talking about Cats, like the movie that just came out. Because it just came out like 2 days ago, okay? That's why I thought it. But that being said, it was not talking about that clearly. So then I think like a little while later, one of my favorite YouTubers, her name is Sarah Hawkinson. She does like really cool videos. She does like reviews of horror movies. She talks about like true crime sometimes as well, but also like psychology. So she's really, really great. I like her a lot. She's been featured in some of Shane Dawson's videos. She's really awesome. I like her. She actually tweeted about it and basically said not to watch it. Or like something to that extent. Like she was just talking about it basically because it's like a kind of like a triggering thing. I'll put her tweets up if I can find them. Because she was just like, saying it is triggering. And that is why I won't be talking about anything like super in detail. Because some of this, like obviously it's up to you if you want to watch it. But I will say there's like animal abuse and stuff, and it's very triggering if you are triggered by that. So that being said, I'm not going to go into like full details of anything, but I will kind of talk about it just because y'all, my mind was like blown. And I've watched so many like documentaries on like true crime and like serial killers, but this one truly like just blew my mind. So I'm gonna talk about it. I watched the trailer last night and I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch this. And then today I've watched it kind of in between the stuff I had to do. So I finished all 3 episodes. So it is a short documentary series, so it's about 3 hours if you want to check it out. Like I said, it is a little bit gruesome. It is triggering. There's murder, there's animal abuse. So just keep that in mind. So basically this whole docuseries is talking about a man named Luca Magnotta. I think that's how you say his last name. I could be wrong. You would think I would know after I just watched it. Anyways, basically this guy was basically uploading videos of him killing cats, and he would share them, and they were basically being shared around the internet. So obviously when the first one went up, people were pissed because people love animals, and people were pissed, and so it started a like basically this group on Facebook formed that was trying to essentially hunt this man down, because in the video you couldn't really see his face, you could just see his side profile, and you could see like his actions. I'm not going to talk about like the ways he killed these animals, because if you want to know that, you can watch it. It's gruesome. I had to fast forward, especially during the first one. I really had to fast forward because I think that's just ugh. But basically they were trying to hunt him down. So this group basically became like private investigators, and the whole docuseries kind of talks to two main people in this group. And these people were doing crazy investigation work, which I always say, like, I think I would make a fantastic PI because I can find out anything. Like, I really can. But I don't know if I could do as good as they did. Like, they were doing some stuff. Like, they literally took this video, like, frame by frame to try to, like, find out, like, what kind of wall socket was there to determine, like, you know, because wall sockets are different, like, in different countries. Like, looking at, like, little objects in his room to try to distinguish where this man was at, because they were that determined to find him before he could do it again, you know. And they worked extremely hard. I think they said this was around like 18 months that this whole thing went on, so almost 2 years. What is that, 2 years? Almost 2 years that this whole thing went on. And of course this person was very narcissistic and enjoyed basically the fame that he got from it, and it made him essentially continue to do this. And he put up, there were 4 videos. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about any of that. If you want to know, you can watch it, you can look it up. I'm not going to talk about it. It's disturbing, it's gross. I don't want to disturb anybody, just giving like basic facts from this. So that being said, obviously the more that he was posting, the more these people were looking into it. And I'm going to tell you right now, these people did an incredible job. They literally figured out where he lived. Like, the guy figured out the apartment that this man lived in. Like, that is how good they were. They took clues from photos, and it was just the most crazy thing. So one thing I want to make a note of, and this is maybe something you don't know if you don't watch a lot of true crime or if you haven't like studied about this, but when people are killing animals, it's like a telltale sign kind of that they are potentially going to start murdering people eventually. And this has been kind of backed up by multiple serial killers who have been noted, like, as children they were murdering animals. And so I guess if I was to like give a reason or whatever, it's kind of like giving them a taste of it before they kill like a human being, if that makes sense. Like, obviously an animal is going to be much more defenseless than a human, so it's kind of like giving them that taste, and it's giving them like that satisfaction, because that's what motivates them, is that like satisfaction they get from it. So it's a really telltale sign, and it's been definitely documented that like family members of like these people have known that they've killed animals and haven't taken it seriously, or maybe they just didn't want to like say anything to anybody, but it's a very like serious indicator. So just keep that in mind, that this was happening. So a lot of people in this group knew that eventually this man was going to kill a human. Like, they knew if he wasn't caught, like, he's going to kill a human. That's why they were, I mean, like, it started off, maybe they were just like, oh, you know, this guy like did this to these cats, like, we have to get him. But I think at some point they knew like he's gonna go bigger, because this man was a narcissist, and a narcissist in the worst way, as he would literally make Facebook profiles, like had so many of them that were all of himself, as like fan pages, would comment on them as himself, like basically trying to make himself a celebrity. He was trying to be a celebrity. He like did all this crazy stuff. He just was a narcissist. Like, he literally, the way he got caught was so narcissistic, like it was crazy. So when they were tipped off to who he was, that's how they started to discover. I don't know who tipped them off, by the way. That's like something that like is kind of weird. Someone tipped off the people in the group. That's kind of a spoiler, but someone tipped off the people in the group that it was this man Luca, and from there that's where they found him. And then they started to search for him, and they found like his apartment, and they found like all of this, and it was crazy. So then a video was uploaded, which is extremely disturbing, where there was a human being being murdered on camera, and they knew instantly it was the same person. And this group, they sent this video link to the police in the area that they believed he was living in, which they weren't too far off, and they didn't respond. They didn't respond to this video until after the body had been found. And I can't remember the exact number of days, but it had been quite a few days in between that they like realized there was a connection there. And that's when there was a huge manhunt for him. They ended up finding him in a different country, I believe Germany. Yeah, Berlin, Germany. That's where they ended up finding him. And he was caught in a very narcissistic way. Basically, I'm not gonna like tell you why or how he was discovered, but it was extremely narcissistic. He was like saying things like he had an abusive boyfriend that like caused him to do all this stuff. Like there was just so many crazy things. And this man was literally insane. Like he was out of his damn mind. Like he was probably like the definition of a sociopath. Like he was insane. And the more I'm watching this, guys, like I've watched a lot of things, okay? I watched a lot. This was like blowing my mind, because this man, like, he was getting off on all the attention. And there are serial killers who have gotten like, you know, they like the attention. If you guys have ever heard of BTK is a serial killer who basically went years without being caught. He would send letters like to news stations and stuff. He would send these things because he was like messing with them. Eventually that's how he got caught. But if you, that's a really interesting one. If you look him up, he is extremely interesting. But like people, they have like narcissism, they get off on this. Like they like the chase, and this guy essentially liked the chase. He liked that he knew this Facebook group was like after him. He liked that he knew that he made them so mad, and like it was just the most wild thing. I have to say, I think the most wild thing too was his mother. If you watch this, that woman, she's off her rocker. Like she tried to deny that her son did any of this. I'm like, girl, like even if you want to deny that that was him in those videos killing cats, they had CCTV video footage of him with the man that got murdered, like with him. So what, like what? She's a loon. But she probably pissed me off more than anything, because I know she's a parent. I know as a parent you don't want to like admit your kids did stuff, but like, oh my god, there was like overwhelming evidence for this man. There was videos of him literally discarding things in the trash from the murder scene, like stuff like this. It was a crazy documentary. So I honestly, if you like true crime, I would recommend. However, what I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna go ahead and say this, is if you are like sensitive to stuff like this, I don't suggest it. Especially the first episode, as far as animal cruelty, is really bad. Really bad. There's not ever shown footage of these animals dying. However, there are clips from the video before and after the deaths, so you need to keep that in mind. I believe that someone has actually made a I think it's on Twitter, someone made like a section, if you are sensitive to that stuff, where you can skip over those parts, because like I said, like the first one I think was the worst, and I had to like skip over that. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, this was a crazy thing. Also, one thing I want to say, and this is just my personal opinion, I do think the documentary was really good. I do think it's a really interesting true crime documentary. I like that they did talk to the people that were, you know, obviously investigating this guy, because I do think it's interesting that people were out there like trying to find this man, trying to stop him, trying to make sure he got caught before he did this horrendous crime. But I do feel like the actual human victim didn't really get his credit. and I feel like he kind of got overshadowed by everything else. So when watching this, like, just keep that in mind. Like, it's a good documentary series, but it is kind of focused on that kind of stuff, and I do think it's a little bit insensitive to the deceased, just because, like, it's kind of like his death is overshadowed a little bit in this. I do get, like, obviously there is more to the story, there's more that builds up the story, but I do feel like it could have had more to do with him. But the story itself is crazy. And yeah, like, this is like the most wild thing I watched in a while. And I thought when I watched the Ted Bundy tapes that shit was wild, bro. This shit is on some other level. Like, it's a little much for me, but I do think it's really good. If you are interested in true crime, I would definitely recommend. Like I said, just remember there is a lot of brutality, there's a lot of, like, animal violence, and there's a lot of disturbing stuff in it. But if you are someone that's interested in that, it is really interesting. If you're somebody that's, you know, been interested in, like, psychology, has taken, like, abnormal psych, has kind of studied about disorders, you really, like, can connect pieces, and it's quite interesting in my opinion. But that is my review of it. I just want to do a review. And I think at some point I do want to do more true crime kind of videos, because I do watch a lot of these documentaries and then I scare myself. But I like watching them, like I said, from the, like, I guess, like, perspective of someone who has studied about, like, certain disorders and has studied about, like, narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder. Like, I've studied about all of this, and I just kind of, like, find it really interesting. And I don't know, that's just my opinion. Everyone's entitled to their own, but I do find it really interesting. So I would recommend, just remember, like I said, there is a lot of gruesome stuff in it. If you get past that, it is a really interesting docu-series, and it's only 3 episodes, so it's not even, like, super long. But yes, that is my review. If you guys would like to see more true crime videos, let me know. I watch a lot. I would love to touch on them and just tell you about things. Like, even if I just, like, tell you the story, I don't know, I feel like it'd be really interesting. It's all up there. This was just something I thought I would talk about because it was something that I watched and it was interesting, creepy, disturbing, but interesting nevertheless. So anyways, I'm gonna go. Thank you guys for watching. I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.